Well, here we are again, and welcome to Unmuted Nation. Welcome to the cabinet, and welcome to what we are calling our official season 2. So, if you've never tuned into the cabinet, it's just a place where we come and we're able to be ourselves and talk about whatever is happening in the world. Unmuted Nation airs on Boss FM Radio on the Boss FM Talk channel, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm Alex Haynes, and I am always there for you. Today, joining me in the cabinet is one of my cabinet favorites, Jazmine Henley-Brown. Jazmine, welcome back to the
Hey, Alex. Thanks so much for having me back.
Hey, Jazz. Welcome. There's so much going on. I have missed this segment. We came back to the radio last week, and I was all by myself, which was cool. But, everything that bounces here, and, as we kind of go into this crazy season that we're in right now, this crazy election season, obviously the cabinet gets more interesting as the world gets more interesting. So we're able to have conversations that really kind of go far and wide. Right now, everyone's talking about the election. People are upset about what's happening with RBG. Also, people aren't talking about it, but they should be talking about COVID-19 because she really hasn't gone anywhere. And then there is like unrest all over the place, like on the entire world. Like in California, everything's on fire. In America, Black people are under fire. And so I think it's just a really interesting place to be. Before we jump into everything that's going on and really what we want to talk about tonight, how are you?
I'm okay. This is going to be my first time hearing and talking about a lot of this stuff. I actively just stay away from everything in the news. I think it's just too much, and I feel really overstimulated a lot of times. So I'm ready to hear what you have to say and ask some questions.
Well, that's one of my favorite things about you is that you know how to turn it off and really just not see it at all. And a lot of people can't do that. And I was reading, I want to get into well, we'll talk about that later. There's stuff that I want to talk about. I want to start off talking a little bit about RBG. And a lot of people don't really understand the significance, why people are upset. I've been talking to people that were just undone and unwell and cried, like a lot of us cried when we lost the Queen of Soul. I found that people are really, really upset about losing Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And she, as a Supreme Court justice, she has made a lot of headway for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people just assume that she was just a Supreme Court justice. And I've actually had to clarify this again, Judge. You may believe this. I had to let somebody know that Judge Judy is not on the Supreme Court.
I was going to say, was she a Supreme Court justice with Judy?
In addition to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, it doesn't seem to be common knowledge that Judge Judy is not a member of the Supreme Court. She never has been. She never will be. Judge Judy is a real judge. She's a real lawyer, but she's also a TV judge. Okay,
right.
So what you see happening she doesn't leave her TV courtroom and go to the Supreme Court of the United States to write opinions and make decisions that impact our everyday life. She just does not do that. That is one of the
most hilarious things I've ever heard, though. That people legitimately think she is a Supreme Court justice. I cry every time. That's so funny.
But I will say this: I think a lot of people will also be upset when we lose Judge Judy.
Sure. I mean, death is sad, but I think when you make it to 87 years, I can't be too sad because that's a life well lived. You know what I mean? As you touched on, RBG, she made a lot of headway. She was very influential and she lived a great life. I think that also a lot of us are like really selfish when people die. And it's like the first thing that I was saying about her death was everything that she can no longer do for other people. And I think that's kind of, that's selfish. So I think definitely mourn her death, but also celebrate her life because 87 years is amazing.
I would keep it light though. Before we jump into the politics, I want
I
to
don't know
hear
where I'm
RBG.
looking at. I'm looking like you were at the camera because I feel like I look cross-eyed because I don't know where I'm looking.
I feel like you're looking at me, but
I am, but the camera.
I have a lot of screens looking back at me right now. So if my eyes are wandering, it's because I see myself and you here, and here. So whatever. Before we get heavy with politics, I want to just like really talk about what we do when we lose people. And I think we may have this image. I want to show, like, first of all, I have asked repeatedly, and I've also made this a public statement from myself. When I die, do not put me in clouds. Do not put me in clouds. Do not elevate me inside of the clouds. Do not do that. Do not. And I'm actually specifically, I really don't want a funeral. You could actually, I want to be burned up, cremate me, and I want to be sprinkled down Peachtree Street in Atlanta.
We're gonna play presidential.
Preferably while y'all are playing the Youngbloods, okay?
Yeah, presidential. Yeah.
You know my wishes. You know there. So I want that. Our other cabinet guest, Phero, is joining the party. We got him together. Phero, welcome back to the cabinet.
Hi.
Cabinet aficionados. I don't know. I thought we had the picture of Ruth Bader Ginsburg because they put her in the clouds, and I don't think that she belongs there. I really don't. I don't believe that she.
Are we at the funeral? Because we all wore black.
We really did. Oh my gosh.
I feel like we're all at the funeral at this point.
It's a sign of unity. I won't be going into any. I really haven't done funerals. I don't think people should be doing them in this time of pandemic. Obviously, people are doing them anyway. But I guess while we're on that topic, since I don't see the image, let's talk about some moves that are being made while RBG, she really was laid to rest, or she hasn't even been laid to rest. Like her body wasn't she wasn't even cold. She was not even cold.
She's still warm. She's actually.
Before we started making moves, to not only replace her, but outside of things that she's even asked for. And I do think we'll talk about in a little bit. RBG had a I guess you can call it a dying wish, a dying request that she dictated to her granddaughter about her seat not being filled until the next president of the United States was selected, or after this election. And obviously we're in a really polarizing time right now. So a lot of people, I want to go back to her death and how significant it is and why the Supreme Court is so important, right? It's the highest court in the land. It's the highest court. So anything that, cannot be decided in lower courts, that's like lower municipalities, I can't say the word today, in cities, things that cannot be done in Judge Judy's court are elevated to the Supreme Court. We'll go with that. I think that's fair, and to keep it light. And so the Supreme Court makes a lot of final decisions, and so the decisions that are made once the Supreme Court makes a decision, it is final, and it's usually not overturned. And a lot of their decisions are made based on precedent, if they can find it in the law. But their interpretations of the law are important. Now, the Supreme Court is not.
Yeah. So Judge Lynn Toler is not the end of
Judge Lynn Toler is not a part of the. She's not on the Supreme Court as well. Let me go further. Judge Mathis is not the black man that is on the Supreme Court.
He is not.
Let's just get all of this out of the way, because we have we all know those judges well. And when you say the names of the people on the Supreme Court, people don't know who the hell you're talking about. Which these are the people that actually make the decisions that matter, and they make the lasting decisions. And so the Supreme Court is not real. They're supposed to make decisions based on the law, their interpretations of the Constitution and the law of the land, right? And so we also, unfortunately, we know how some of the Supreme Court justices believe, what they believe, how they feel. We know their voting records. We know, where they stand and whether they lean very towards conservative or liberal politics. That's always up in the air. But whenever one needs to be suggested, it becomes the most polarizing thing that people are most concerned. Like, it could be somebody that, was raised in a Christian family and maybe they stopped going to church when they were 30 and they go to church for Easter and Christmas. But all of a sudden, the fact that they are labeled Christian, people go crazy when it's time for them to if they get nominated for the Supreme Court. So there are some nominations that are being proposed by Republicans now, because the Supreme Court justice, if we have to nominate one, it's always done by the president and confirmed by the Senate. Hopefully I don't have to tell you who the president of the United States is. And also our current Senate is ruled
I think that it goes without mentioning.
A majority of it leans conservative, and it's Republican led right now. I can be honest and say I don't believe that Donald Trump should, choose. I wouldn't let him select a meal for me, so I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with him choosing a Supreme Court justice. However, this is where we are. He's been the president for 3.5 years. He nominated Brett Kavanaugh. We saw how that went. That was a very polarizing time. People were all at odds with each other. And during most people are not going to be able to remember Senate confirmations. So when I talk about this, the most recent one was obviously Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Do you guys remember that saga? Or what do you remember about it the most?
The scandal with the woman.
Christine Blasey Ford. Yeah. Okay, so there was brought out that he was a scandal, also that he was a rapist. And a lot of people feel like Democrats just completely smeared him. And Republicans have actually said, so they had initially said that they were not. Well, let's rewind a little bit. Let's get to the part and the meat that we want to talk about. Because we lost Ruth, we need another Supreme Court justice. And part of the reason that it's important that we have one is we have an election that's coming up, which I don't know if we'll get to that today. We have plenty of time to talk about that, even though it's only 42 days away. It's something that we got to talk about. But it's likely that the results of this election will be contested. We have a candidate that probably would never concede a loss. And so if it has to go to the Supreme Court, right now there are only 8 justices. So you have an even number. You need an uneven number to get a solid answer from the Supreme Court, which is why Republicans want to push someone through. But let's go back to 2016 when Barack Obama was the president. And there was 11 months left in his presidency when Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia died. And the job, as I just told you, of the president is to nominate a Supreme Court justice. The job of the Senate is to confirm. Now, we also had a conservative-leaning Senate in 2016 while Barack Obama was president. So they are now saying that the reason that they did not allow President Obama's nomination, Merrick Garland, to go through was because we were so close to an election. Before we go too far in this, it was really heated then. I remember covering it. It was just crazy. But South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham was one of the people that was the most vocal about why we should not confirm another Supreme Court justice during an election year, and that should be reserved for the incoming president. Lindsey Graham spoke on this twice. First, we're going to look at one time he was at a Senate hearing about the confirmation. And this is Lindsey Graham and why he thought that we should not confirm a Supreme Court justice during an election year.
This is the last year of a lame duck president. And if Ted Cruz or Donald Trump get to be president, they've all asked us not to confirm or take up a selection by President Obama. So if a vacancy occurs in their last year of their first term, guess what? You will use their words against them. I want you to use my words against me. If there's a Republican president in 2016 and a vacancy occurs in the last year of the first term, you can say, Lindsey Graham said, let's let the next president, whoever it might be, make that nomination, and you could use my words against me, and you'd be absolutely right. We're setting a precedent here today, Republicans are, that in the last year, at least of a lame duck 8-year term, I would say it's going to be a 4-year term, that you're not going to fill a vacancy of the Supreme Court based on what we're doing here today. That's going to...
Was any part of that unclear?
Unclear.
It was very.
No, it wasn't clear.
I
It was
mean,
very
he
clear.
not only did he double down on what he said we are setting a precedent that if a Republican president is sitting in office, and he alluded to the fact that he thought it was only going to be 4 years because they thought it was going to be Hillary. So he literally, made that statement. He said it again. He spoke at a conference and said it again. I want you to hear that.
This may make you feel better, but I really don't care. If an opening comes in the last year of President Trump's term and the primary process is started, we'll wait to the next election. And I've got a pretty good chance of being the judiciary.
You're on the record.
Yeah.
All right.
Hold the tape.
I said what I said. I know, and I'm very aware that I'm on tape. However, I mean, I don't know how much. What more do you need to hear from that?
I want to know your thoughts on it, because this is what he's saying. It's not what he's saying right now. He's saying right now that his excuse is that the way that Democrats treated Brett Kavanaugh, they were ruthless with him, which he's being elevated to the highest court in the land. You would think that if we're nominating somebody that has no term limits, is there obviously until they are ready to retire or die, RBG, I would assume that you want to know everything about that person if we are elevating them to make decisions. So I would not say that the treatment that Brett Kavanaugh got was unjust. I think in any time, I think if I was being nominated to the Supreme Court of the United States, I would have to answer for all of the kids that I made fun of growing up, and the foul things that have come out of my mouth over the years, things that I can own, the things that I've tweeted. And we all have things. I don't think I've never been in a position where I've accosted anybody and forced them to do anything sexually. But if that were to happen, or if that accusation was out there, it would not be slanderous for anybody to bring that up. But let's throw that to the side and let's focus on what Lindsey said. He set the precedent, and now he's actually made statements. And the Republicans have decided that regardless of the precedent that they are setting, that it's too crucial. Although there's only 42 days to the election, and again with Barack Obama there was 11 months, that they make the decision, and it's in their best interest to make the decision. Just seeing that, let's take your own personal politics out of that. Would you feel comfortable support? Because we know, and Jazz, you and I talk about this all the time. You too, Phero. Politicians lie. It's part of the job. It's just what they do. But these blatant lies that are like this. Because these sound bites, I don't know if you knew that they would be playing on a loop for 4 years later, but this is the type of thing that people have to know, knowing that your politician is lying to you, but can you prove every lie? Not usually. You can't say, I know that she's lying, I know that he's lying, except when it comes to Kamala and what she says she listens to at barbecues. We know that she lied there. That was a blatant lie. But what does this make you feel good about the decision that they're making, or even the fact that these people that blatantly lie this way are nominating somebody that they see that has integrity and that's really going to hold up what we call our Constitution?
Well, I knew he was lying from the videos. All of these people lie regardless of what side they're on. So I knew he was lying when I saw him saying that. And I'm not surprised nor shocked. Do I think that they should be pushing to make the decision this close to an election. No, I don't. But I'm not shocked that he lied about it.
Okay.
And I'll piggyback off of that. I'm not shocked at all that he lied about it either. I think it's worrisome to me and my homegirls that they blatantly know that we can pull these sound bites from 4 years ago, and for you to have such a strong and a stern rhetoric at that time, yet this woman just, I don't even think she's in the ground yet, not even, and being so adamant about having a nominee.
She's not in the ground yet. She's about to go on a tour, and she'll be lying in state in places for people to go and mourn over her body. And so I think in efforts to I didn't hear you. Yeah, she's gonna be lying in state. I think she'll be at the State House and then at the Supreme Court for people to go and usually politicians of high regard often do lie in state prior to their funerals. But Donald Trump has said that he would nominate the next person, which we'll probably talk about that in a future show. I don't want to focus on what he's actually going to do, but he is planning to nominate somebody on Saturday, and they're looking to push this through and have this person confirmed before the election. Phero, are you comfortable with that decision being made that quickly?
Absolutely not. To say the least, absolutely not. I think that it's worrisome because there are a plethora of things on the table right now on a national scale that have not been addressed. And especially being so close to the election, the amount of media, energy, finance that would have to go into backing a nominee, in my opinion, would be a deterrent from other more important things. And not, I wouldn't even say more important. This is, if not one of the most important actions of a president, but it affects effects transcend the president and that sitting, and it needs the time and the due diligence to really make an educated, answer. And this is not the time.
Agree. I think I want to talk about.
No, like how long is the vetting process? Like I realize they might have people that are lined up, but like vetting, you have to constantly vet people when you're appointing them to an office as high as this. So how long is that process supposed to take? You can do that by Saturday?
Typically. Mitch McConnell is intent. Like there are a few things that Mitch McConnell as the Speaker of the House really cares about. And that is holding the majority in the Senate because they can make the final decision, and the Supreme Court. He's always been vocal about that being his primary goal. I really don't think he cares if Donald Trump gets elected again, as long as they maintain the hold of the Senate, which it looks like it's going to flip, which is one of the reasons that they want to push this through. I want to focus on some of the reasons why people are concerned about them pushing another conservative through. Their top pick, I believe, I don't remember her full, I think her first name is Amy. I know she has 7 children and she's Catholic. And a lot of people are concerned that her Catholic beliefs are going to impact her decisions as Republicans seek to overturn Roe v. Wade, which is legislation that protects women's rights to have an abortion if they choose. That's something that Republicans have long sought to overturn. Another piece that's really, really crucial is the dismantling of the Affordable Care Act, which most people know as Obamacare. Now, Obamacare works for some people. It didn't work for a lot of people. I don't think it worked as designed. And a lot of people that I speak to, like I hear favorable things about it. I hear people that are very frustrated with it. People don't understand that your state's participation. So if you lived in mostly like a red state or a state where they didn't have the resources, states did participate in the exchanges. And so Obamacare could have been a disaster for you. However, there are millions of people that are covered by Obamacare right now, and the Affordable Care Act also allows a few things. Your any pre-existing condition is covered now. Also, children under the age of 25 are able to stay on their parents' insurance now. All of these protections exist now inside of the Affordable Care Act. if it's repealed, those protections fall immediately. And there's no incentive for a money-motivated insurance company to continue to cover you at the rate that you're being covered at. If you're if you don't have insurance through your employer, you already know how astronomical those prices can be. Losing that is just huge for a lot of people. So it's the ACA, it's Roe v. Wade that a lot of people are really, really concerned about. And I think I just think that there are a number of things that are kind of at risk. But those are and gay marriage. That's another thing that Republicans have sought to overturn and restore the traditional family unit, as it's been called. And that's why a lot of people are really, really nervous that if the court leans 100% conservative, or not even if it's 70-30 conservative, you're going to have huge issues here. And remember, these appointments are lifetime. So I think that's why I think there is just cause for them to be concerned. With the confirmation process, Jazz, I would say you're right. Typically, there is a lot of vetting that needs to be done. We live in some really strange times when it comes to what our government will do, because this is where the Democrats have to shoulder some blame. They changed the number of votes that were required to confirm a Supreme Court justice to 51, and that was all on the Democrats. And so they don't have the votes. If Republicans had 50 votes right now, Mike Pence is the tiebreaker there, and so they would hold a majority with that vote. And so some of the threats from the Democrats, if they do push this through, is that they will stack the courts. That simply means that when they hold power in the executive and legislative branches, they would be able to add to the number of Supreme Court justices. So a number of Democrats have come out and said, we don't need 9, we need 15. And you could imagine that the additional 6 that they add would no doubt be mostly liberal, most likely. Democrats have also threatened to go ahead and approve statehood or ratify statehood for DC and Puerto Rico, which Republicans are staunchly against, because with statehood come 2 senators. You add 2 senators to Puerto Rico, I don't have to tell you what's going to happen there. Or you add 2 senators to DC if it becomes a state, they're most likely going to be Democratic as well. So things are not looking well for them. A lot of people are saying Republicans are not playing the long game, but it's really interesting to watch. I think it can be very nerve-wracking. A lot of people don't care about these decisions because all of the things that I named, the ACA, healthcare, gay marriage, or
Roe versus Wade.
Roe v. Wade, yeah, none of those things matter to them. And so they believe what they believe. Maybe that's a belief that they've always had, and they stick with those beliefs, and they vote, they vote their conscience. And so I think what's most important is that people vote. And if you have never, I think that even if you are, well, go ahead.
I have a thought about that, because it also could be not that people don't care, but how realistic is it that he will nominate someone that will get pushed through before the election? Like, is that a real possibility? Because what I also know about our country is everybody likes to get riled up about things without actually knowing the probability, right? So there's a possibility, but what is the probability of this actually happening before the election? And I think we need to stop and think about that, because if it's not probable that it happened, what is the point of all getting so up in arms about?
True. I want to come back to that same question and the same logic, because we're going to talk about the probability of us having a vaccine, and why the president keeps saying that the vaccine is coming, and how the FDA kind of threw any possibility of that out. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg was confirmed in 42 days. We've got 42 days to the election, just to your question. And the fastest confirmation of a Supreme Court justice happened in 32. And so that's the fastest. Usually they take longer than both 32 and 42 days, but there is that we can look back historically and see that it has happened before. So
that raises a question for me that be it that Ruth was confirmed within 43 days, or if we say 42 days, correct?
42.
42. That to me, that would be an incentive for the Republican Party to want to match that milestone in history. So one went out within 42 days, and I can imagine that they want to. I mean, this is just theory, but they want to match that milestone for the Republican Party to have someone to come either quicker than that or just as fast as that, since it's possible.
But see, so we don't even know who it is yet. So we know who his top two contenders are. Donald Trump says that it's definitely going to be a woman, obviously to match the energy that Joe Biden has been saying for months, that he will undoubtedly nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court. Donald Trump hasn't gone that far, but the two women that he's looking at, he hasn't announced them yet. So by the time we get to Saturday, we won't be anywhere. We'll be out of the 40s, right? So there's not a reason to believe. Now we know they don't need any input from the Democrats to make this happen. They have the votes, and so that's what they've been saying. Like when Donald Trump nominates somebody, we will push them through. And the confirmation process, though there has to be vetting, the confirmation happens in the Senate and it's Republican led. So
are they going to push it through that quickly, seeing as though it's a woman? Because what we know about Republicans, women are top of the.
Yeah, but also I feel like from what we know of Republicans, they tend to be competitive in a very misogynistic way. So I can imagine like we gotta push them through. You know, the vetting process could be potentially cut in half just off of the strength of getting the job, quote unquote, done.
Sure. Okay.
They are competitive and they unify, and that's the one thing that we talk about that here on the cabinet a lot. That they unify. I saw a tweet this morning that said Republicans know that Democrats hate each other. I don't think that it's that Democrats hate each other. It's just that there are many agendas, and like we try to fit all these agendas under one tent, and we're stuck doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting to look at it this way. None of those agendas, out of all the agendas that the Democrats have, none of them fit under the Republican tent. Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's just none of them, and it's it's whatever. The interesting thing about the first I should know her name. I don't. I know the other judge that Donald Trump is looking at is a Latina woman, Hispanic woman. She's in Florida. And he's looking at Florida. He's looking at the Spanish vote, and she's a hot contender.
Is she Cuban? Is my question.
I don't know the specifics.
I'll look into it. Yeah.
We'll do the research and we'll talk about. I think we'll have to have a separate show whenever they make the announcement. We'll come back and we'll talk about them specifically, because right now they really don't matter. Like this, it's all speculative, like you said, Jazz. Mm-hmm. I want to switch from politics for a second and let's talk about some things that are happening right now. Something that happened moments before we went live tonight. The CEO of Wells Fargo has made a statement that is, and I don't know.
I feel like I saw this.
You feel like you saw it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I read it to you? I'm going to read it to you, Phero. I don't know if you saw. A lot of people have not seen it. Here it is for those of you watching at home. The Wells Fargo CEO says, while it might sound like an excuse, the unfortunate reality is that there is a very limited pool of Black talent to recruit from.
Wow.
Now, that's a really blanket statement. One of my favorite tweets to come out of this, I always gotta go and see what the people are saying. And I think my favorite response to this was, if you bank with Wells Fargo, please snatch your black ass talentless coin from their accounts. Thank you and have a good night. I think that's the only thing that you can do to speak to. Wells Fargo has been under fire before for really, really, really screwing up the mortgages that they were issuing to Black and Latino, Latinx people. And Wells Fargo routinely has taken advantage of Black people. At this point, with the CEO making a blanket statement like this, first of all, there's plenty of talent out there. your choice not to see the talent or not to accept the talent or not to want the talent in the way that it comes to you, something that you can't mold and shape and fit into your Wells Fargo white box or whatever it is, that's your issue. I think that you're going to have to eat these words. I fully expect for the board to call for his resignation, and we see apologies and all of that. It's going to be the same thing. They're not like they're.
To be so obtuse.
Fargo has not known talent since the year, I want to say 2008 or 9, when I was fired from my job at Wells Fargo.
Oh,
so they haven't known talent for a very long time.
This is personal. It just got personal. It just got real. But here's the thing that I want to say. What did the diversity and inclusion push that we had this past June, what is that doing for us at Wells Fargo right now?
Did Wells Fargo
clearly not a damn.
Did they participate in like throwing up a Black Lives Matter post like all these other companies did?
They sure did.
They did?
They sure did.
I mean, performative. It was, everybody was acting. Everybody pulled out like, their.
I couldn't get down with the act. I wasn't okay with the act. I didn't like the act. I'm not feeling the act. And here we are. Who's surprised? The thing is, I can tell you who's not surprised. The Black community is not surprised by this.
Absolutely not. I think that we're not. The fact that some of the CEO of Wells Fargo does not view Black talent as plausible or as competitive in the industry is not shocking, because it shows. It's been showing that you guys do not view talents of people of color in the same light that you view people that are of less color. What is baffling, though? What is baffling,
the first one
is that,
for it to be on record.
Yeah,
and
on record.
And reported by NBC News.
And on top of that, and the height of a diverse moment and time of being Black in America or being a Latinx in America, it's you decided to pick this moment to say that your entire pool of candidates and applicants, you notice that Black people were amongst the lowest. Why is that? And what are you looking for? I guess is the bigger question.
Or were they just not applying there? Like, that's the only reasonable excuse for a comment like that, is that Black people just weren't applying. Because if they weren't applying, then you don't have anything to choose from.
And to that point, Jazz, there is. I've worked in recruiting for a little while now. That is where you would have taken a question like that, or responded. I'm not familiar with the question that was asked about that, why he would make a statement such as that. However, you would take that more so defensive opposed to offensive. Hey, in our talent pool, we didn't see, we're diving into our strategy and how we, bring in new talent. That wasn't a lens that we were reviewing the applicants through. Now that we see the social climate was going on, now we can focus on that. He went offensive. We have looked and we don't see it, is what you're saying.
So for those of us that have worked in corporate America, you work in recruiting, what we do know is that they are applying. Now, who is screening them? Who is vetting them? What would have been more appropriate for him to say is that we're not seeing it, as you said, Phero. We're not seeing the talent there. We would love to see more Black people applying. That's probably the best way that you could have saved face, even in the eyes of your own talent acquisition department being lackluster. But I know that we've talked about code switching here before as well. Not only do we have to code switch on our resumes, LinkedIn profiles, and everything else to even get noticed, we know that even once we're noticed, sometimes we're not acknowledged or we don't get those callbacks. We know this is not something that's foreign to us as a community. So for you to say that is very slighting, I think it's very, I don't think it's even.
Was that his full quote though? Because I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to throw him a bone or take his side. But I also know that people's comments get taken out of context all the time, especially in this climate, especially when it's on social media, because publications and outlets know that people will start talking about it, it's clickbait. So know for sure that that was the full quote in context. You know what I mean? Because if not, I don't like this is why I don't like to give a lot of energy to shit until I know the full story, because it's really easy to take a half quote and just throw it out there, knowing that most people are not going to try to do their research to see if that was exactly what was said. It was a flagrant statement. He should not have made the statement. But if it was in conjunction with something else, like you said, if there was another part of that, maybe he did say, I would love to see more apply, or like I would love to see the talent that's out there. If we don't know if he said that or not, let's save our energy.
For all the people watching the Cap, this is a perfect example of how our opinions are often not. We're giving you a full conversation of how we view these things that go on in our country. And I think, Jazz, that was beautiful that you were able to say, on camera, hey, let's make sure that we're receiving all information as it, and not just taking a soundbite or, a clickbait scenario and turning it into something a little larger. Because there are a number of publications that I feel like do that.
So I would love to offer the context, and I wanted to just confirm. So I was spending some time with the context just to make sure I had a full understanding. And this was actually issued. He said this. It was written in a June 18th memo to the organization after they were responding to all of the outrage and the protest and everything that was going on. And so in response to them being questioned on them not reaching their diversity goals, his response to being pressed on that on a conference call was, while it might sound like an excuse, the unfortunate reality is that there's a very limited pool of Black talent to recruit from. So those were his words. He typed them in a memo and also said it on a conference call. And so the statement holds true, and I think the context there.
Yeah.
I can understand why he said it. I don't think he understood the magnitude of what he was saying, or the impact that a statement like that has, or the flaws that it exposes. I think that there are so many things that that show that there are some things that could be fixed inside of this organization. If the truth is that, there's a very limited pool of Black talent to recruit from, how limited is the scope of your pool, or like what is the? It's far reaching. I think we can.
Does it say why we just are now at the end of September hearing about this quote? If he said that in June, it would have been something that we heard about at that time. Like I guess I want to know why it's just not being made public that he said that.
Yeah, I don't know. If it was an internal memo, I'm not sure. It probably, and I'm speculating now because I don't have it in front of me. I don't know if it came out, maybe employees thought it was offensive and maybe they filed a lawsuit because of that and included this as part of that. I could see that being one of the reasons that it came out. If it was internal, a lot of times, especially in banks, you don't want to forward a lot of emails from executives out and things like that. So a lot of that stuff gets caught and your job can be in jeopardy. But I'm interested to look further in that. I'm going to switch gears again. We'll go back to, like I said, politics in a second. Amanda Seales is... I love Amanda Seales. She has some words for her former host of yeah, she slams the reel for being low class and even lower vibration. And she said this in an Instagram post after they posted a photo or a new campaign that they are running to kind of stay relevant. And she really credits herself with informing them on how to keep a pulse and stay relevant in to Black issues. And she feels like they have hijacked her hard work as an artist. And I think I can understand anytime an artist has something stolen or taken away, I think about, you always think about yourself, right? Especially if you have artistry or work or things that you have put out there. I think about things or I've had tons of ideas and things that were public stolen from other people that work in the same industry as me. And they try to recreate it. I feel like my words to Amanda here, I think calling them low class is definitely a blow. She speculated in the Instagram post that the reason that they did it is because they knew she would post about it. It would trigger her and trigger some ratings for them. I don't know if I give it that much credit, but I will say no, that imitation is one of the most sincerest forms of flattery. And so the fact that they're taking your work and they had to take your work, and this is a word for all artists, right? Your work is your work. If someone takes it, it's offensive. Fight for it. You know, if you've done your due diligence and have the rights to it, get your money. But I think also know that no one can actually do what you can do your way. So I wouldn't even. I don't know if I was Amanda in that situation, how much shine I would have given to the real in this situation. Jazz, when you think about someone stealing your, I guess we can call it intellectual property. Do you feel the need to make it public?
I think
or give them a public lashing?
I think in this particular situation, normally you pay a dust, right? Especially if it's someone who their platform is not as big as yours, or that. But I think with the real, it's such a large platform. It is a larger platform than Smart, Funny, and Black. And so that probably was really hurtful, because what will happen, I think, in Amanda's mind, and I can't speak for her, I don't know, but the way that I'm viewing it is people will see this on the real and then eventually see Smart, Funny, and Black and assume that Amanda stole it from them. And so that might have been what was going through her mind. She wanted to bring attention to it. It does suck. Like, as a creative, we're sensitive, right? And so we don't like if we work so hard on something. She's worked really hard on Smart, Funny, and Black, regardless of what the opinions are about Amanda Seales. That is a brand that she's really worked hard on for the last couple of years. And so to see somebody just bite it like that, I can understand her frustration. Was it a low blow to call them low class and low vibrational? Yes, but you know, she was speaking from emotion, and that sucks. And it does look very similar to her logo. And I think, like, while we know from just working in this industry, the actual host of The Real probably didn't create that. Somebody on the production team or, you know, the brand team, they did, and somebody should have stopped it or said, let's do something else, because I'm sure one of those women, I don't know why their names are escaping me. Lonnie, right?
Yeah, Lonnie Love. Yeah.
Yeah, all of those girls, like, I'm sure one of them knew that was very similar to Amanda's logo, and they should have stopped that.
I have a large issue with production and marketing teams that with this same issue of the new talent that comes in, or even consistent talent that are not aware in the zeitgeist of creative, and don't do their due diligence. They don't. I can't imagine how it was. It was very similar. I do think Amanda tends to be a little combustible sometimes, but is it warranted? It depends on, I guess, like the audience you have. I would take huge issue as an artist, as a creative and an artist, that I'm working on a show where the creative atmosphere is in abundance, and you have direct connection to me, and you didn't find it pertinent to make sure that something like this does not already live, and also the fact that it lives very specifically within Smart, Funny, and Black. And I'm on the show, and it just seems I would feel tried as well. I really would. I would feel like someone on the team, someone sat in the meeting and on a P&L or whatever meeting is going on, and someone knew that Smart, Funny, and Black was in current.
Yeah, I have no doubt that they knew, and they knew what happened. And I actually believe that they probably, as I'm thinking more about this, they knew she would be triggered. They knew that she would speak about it. They knew all of these things were going to happen. And I think that's just.
And it's also a level of being of feeling so devalued. And okay, yes, okay, there was a conversation where they knew, okay, this is a remnant of Amanda Smart, Funny, and Black. Oh, okay, so let's take that, spin that, screw her, and how we feel about how we're viewed and respecting her as one, a host on a show, and two, an individual. We're going to spin that in a marketing ploy to get more ratings off of the theft that we initiated. It's disrespectful.
Totally get it. Well, we'll switch gears again. There's so much I want to fit in. And I'm just thinking about where to go next. Let's go here since I have a clip that I want to show. No, we're talking about COVID-19. We're going into the fall season. There's lots of anticipation and thoughts of the people where we were going to be. And I know we can all think back to like March and April and May and June. And I think, honestly, if I'm being honest with myself, I had a lot of hope for the United States of America. I had a lot of, I think I had in the back of my mind, I believed that there's no way that America will ever let this virus take control of us, or that we would not have control of it in any way. Today we hit 200,000 deaths in the United States of people that have passed away from COVID-19. No moment of silence, no, ringing of a bell. The flags aren't even at half staff at all. Like we're not seeing like our federal government really kind of take ownership for the fact, like a lot of people are like, well, the virus came from China. We need to blame China. We've known. And what we do know, like we know certain things, and we haven't always had all of the information. We've had enough information to know at enough time to also see what has worked and what didn't work. And it's less speculative. We just know like certain things. Don't be an asshole. Put on a mask. Don't cough on people. Don't be in areas. Like don't expose yourself if you are feeling sick. And we also know that there's a lot of unseen components here. Donald Trump at a rally yesterday made some statements, and I just want to roll this. We'll talk about it, and we'll keep moving.
Oh, the disease, we didn't know it. Now we know it. It affects elderly people with heart problems and other problems. If they have other problems, that's what it really affects. That's it. In some states, thousands of people, nobody young, below the age of 18, like nobody. They have a strong immune system. Who knows? You take your hat off to the young because they have a hell of an immune system, but it affects virtually nobody. It's an amazing thing. By the way, open your schools. Everybody open your schools. Sleepy Joe Biden wants to impose a $4 trillion.
Okay. It's so bizarre. So just facts, he said it affects nobody under the age of 18. That is a lie. That is just a lie. It's wrong. We have lower death tolls for people under 18, but it is really affecting people under the age of 18. Their immune systems, their respiratory systems. There have been a lot of issues, and kids are also, it affects them because they are super spreaders. So while it may not be affecting them or compromising them, it is spreading to insurmountable amounts of people because they put their little hands on everything, and it just is what it is. But to say that it has affected virtually no one, that's where I really got stuck when I saw that clip. Like literally, that's the day before, 200,000 people confirmed dead in the United States, and it's affected virtually no one. So to you, are those 200,000 people? Because in the grand scheme of things, and I had the number right before the show, I looked this stat up, but we lost less than 4,000 people on 9/11. American tragedy.
I'm just like outdone by the yammering. I just can't understand how the thought process by someone that is sitting at a rally for Donald Trump can tolerate the constant yammering that goes on. I just can't. It sounds like someone's drunken uncle, that lives in a trailer and just has no contact with the outside world.
I honestly feel like that's the draw. I honestly feel like, people are attracted to different types of comedy, different types of entertainment. And I honestly think Donald Trump gives his we call it in politics his base, but I really think that these are really just his fans. These are fans of Donald Trump, and it doesn't matter what he says or who he's saying it to. They feel it, they like it. It could be, it's really bizarre. But when you see that clip, because the yammer, I think that's a good word for it, because he goes from like talking about the virus and the statistics into he's like, just like a comedian, what's the next thing that I can say to make them say,
it's absolutely,
open your
absolutely
schools, open your schools, people, just open the schools. Like, what's your basis for saying that? What was that one of your talking points? Where
there, it seems, and some will say it seems to be, it's an organic approach to politics, because he goes on a podium and says anything he wants to. But there's a reason why you don't get on a podium and just talk. There's a reason why you come out with strategic speech and rhetoric that is not just impactful but memorable. I think that in his presidency, his presence has lasted much longer than his rhetoric, and that is very unfortunate.
Jazz, you see that clip? What do you think?
I honestly, I have nothing, Alex, because I just, pass.
It leaves you just so depleted of like logic.
I honestly think you said plenty, and I honestly think, but here's also the thing. I think that there are some people that are still intent on trying to, and I wanted to get here because when okay, we're polarized. People are against each other. Their policy, they see politics first. I see your Democrat flag or your Republican flag first or whatever. But I think, and I talked to Phero about this earlier, I think that we are missing a huge demographic of people that have been affected. And I think when it comes to, I don't really know. I think, honestly, Donald Trump is not concerned about the Black vote. He knows that he's not getting it. He's not concerned about trying to convert other people to vote for him. He's basing it on people that have always been Republican and them not being able to part from that. That's one thing. Mm-hmm. Also, ensuring that his base comes back out and suppressing anything else. So part of the reason, and I didn't do enough research. I saw a riveting, I'll share with you guys, a riveting piece that was done on Kanye and the group that he's working with to run his campaign. But it kind of just plays right into this voter suppression tactics that are happening. And when people hear voter suppression, you start to think about the 1950s and people, police officers telling you can't vote. Back then you had to count, how many jelly beans were in a jar before you could vote as a Black person. These things really happen in this country. But voter suppression doesn't look like that way anymore. It is precincts closing, not enough voting machines, extremely long lines and delays, sending law enforcement to the polls so that people like minorities and immigrants won't come out to vote. That's really what it looks like. But I think that what we don't see, even in the polls that gather the most information, what we don't see is enough information on younger voters. And I think a lot of people have counted out Gen Z, and I know that we talked about them being the Tide Pod generation and them eating Tide Pods. Just last week, we weren't on the air, so I couldn't bring this to you guys, but they also had the it's not Sudafed. They had they were taking an over-the-counter drug until they pass out. Another one, something else that they were doing. It's escaping me right now. But
you're showing your age, Alex. You're showing your age.
I don't know what it was. What is I don't know. I don't know. Somebody will tell me soon. But these people are now voting age, right? You take people the older, the generation, removed from us likes to call everybody millennials that is not old, right? So they're like, those millennials, they're talking about 17-year-olds. Those are not millennials. They're nowhere near millennials. Some of your oldest millennials are like 40 plus. And so you have Gen Z, though, that has been affected in such a crazy way. And we can now kind of see some of the results and the ramifications. Like Gen Z, these people did not really have a senior year, but they just turned 18, they can vote. Some of them aren't having their first year of college or their first year of adulthood. A lot of these things have been stripped from them. Why would they not vote? Some of these people were expecting to go spend their first year of college away from home, and they're still at home with their mom and dad.
And
their mom and dad may feel one way. They're not voting with mom and dad when they get to the ballot box. They see what is going on every day. They're going to make a decision. At the same time, you had Gen Z that just graduated from college. They were hoping to get a job and move out, and they had to move back home after 4 years. And we just have not put them into our numbers. We're not taking any polls on where they are. We saw what they did, how they bought up all of these tickets to a Trump rally, but I don't think Democrats or Republicans have really considered that they will be there and voting. And we put so much energy in flipping people that are somewhere in the middle, or flipping people that have like galvanizing people that have not voted in the past, or older people, not realizing that these people are passionate, they are vocal, they are militant. And I really, really believe that we're going to see an upset from Gen Z like we haven't seen before.
Well, if you think about it as well, there is an influx of time that Generation Z, Generation Z, I'm sorry, has on their hands and able to see what's going on with world affairs, with national issues. They've been sitting at home for 6 months watching television. They have nothing but time to really get a firm grasp.
Everything is interconnected. You're making a great point, and I think, I can think about how connected I was with the world when I had AOL and Instant Messenger, and back in the day, and the people that I could talk to. There's no doubt that they have friends that are all around the world, and they've watched these governments as close as Canada and how they dealt with this pandemic. And they have people that they're connected to that they're thinking about all of these things. And I just don't think that the decision makers, the legislators and the lawmakers are really taking that into consideration, what is really on the table this fall. And not only, yes, you have an older electorate that is really, really excited by the rhetoric that they hear, the conservative rhetoric, or maybe it's the liberal rhetoric that they hear, but we have another generation that's processing this differently, things that they never want to see again. Maybe they grew up in a household that was full of bigotry, and it's something that they hate the most. And the one thing that they want to do is vote truth to power, and things like that. So that's something that I'm really keeping my eyes on. I really want to kind of see how that pans out.
I'm interested in seeing that as well, because I think, when Obama was running, and Obama was the first time that I was of age to vote, right? And he had the largest youth turnout for voting. And I think it was because not so much that millennials knew a lot about politics. Millennials just knew that he was different, right? It was the first Black president that you could vote for. He was cool. He played basketball. I think with this particular election, the Democrats are not using their new and different. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but they're not using Kamala properly. She is new and different. It's the first.
I was going to say, because there's nothing new about Joe.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. They need to. Kamala could be and I only call her Kamala because I think it's hilarious. But they should be using her a lot more, because she is the new and different. And that's exactly what, if you want a large youth turnout, introduce something to them that they've never seen before, that they can say that they're the first person to have done this. Republicans are missing big with not targeting Gen Z enough, but I think they're also their core demographic is older. And I think they're banking on the fact that the kids will just vote in their parents' interest, and that may or may not backfire on them. We don't know that yet. But
I think traditionally you probably could see that. But our data shows that people usually don't start voting until they're around 28, 29, when the issues start to really impact them. And so when issues start to impact you, then you start to learn, you start to get involved. But I think you're right. We really don't know. I think, like you said, they're missing using Kamala in the way that they should. I think Kamala missed out when she did not hire you. And we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, though. She was whatever.
Listen, we got 42 days, sweetie. What do you want to do? What do you want to do?
Kamala, make the call. Make the call. Kamala,
make the call.
Because the thing is, I really don't think like people like me. I'm not old. I'm not young. I mean, I'm young, but I'm not categorized young. I have a voice. I have an opinion. I have a say. I don't need Kamala popping up in a versus battle. I don't need that. And so I think you're right. They're missing, because the first thing you said, when you said that there are opportunities that she should be connecting with, the first thing I thought was like her popping up like Zordon. In between Brandy and Monica, and I was like, what is going on? What is going on here? It was something to watch.
There are a lot of opportunities on both sides to really, I don't want to say capture, but to really solidify the youth vote. But that people do that all the time. They count the youth out, and then that's who ends up making the decisions, right? Like, and I've always I've said
they very well should. They should.
Yeah, exactly. And I've said that about Gen Z though. Like, they are so revolutionary. If they knew or had some guidance on where to direct their energy, and it's not like eating Tide Pods or taking whatever medication you said they were just taking. If they just had a voice or a leader to help them direct their energy, they could really make moves because they're a lot more fearless than our generation millennials are, right? Like, we're a lot more fearless than our parents. Gen Z is a lot more fearless than we are.
Agree. And I think, when I think back to 2008, the options on the table, and the OTC medicine was Benadryl, by the way. There's a Benadryl challenge.
But why would you want to take Benadryl? Is so unpleasant to take, even when you're having an allergic reaction. It's awful because it makes you so drowsy. I don't understand why you would take that just for recreation.
I also don't understand why you would eat Tide Pods.
Also true.
So I think it's just something that can't be explained. And I think when I heard it, I was like, Benadryl, like I can talk to you people. We know what it's like to be inebriated. Why would you want that? Why would you want that?
Well, I never really understood the inebriation to the point of sleep. With over-the-counter drugs, I never understood the need to I'm going to take this until I pass out. Like, what? I don't know. I don't get it.
Maybe they're just coping with the state of the world right now. I'm going to give them some grace there and say that they're just using it as coping.
I honestly think that could totally be it. It could totally be it. And you know what? I think that I'm learning more. I ask questions. You learn Gen Z, and then I'm bringing them to the cabinet too. Like,
please,
please.
Because we all need to learn. We all need to learn. I wanted to hit this. I don't want to spend too much time on it because it's likely that we will probably have to spend significant time on it. I doubt it's going to happen tonight, so probably tomorrow. The city of Louisville declared a state of emergency yesterday. So if you have not heard this news, and you've been looking for a Breonna Taylor update, here it is. The Louisville Police Department declared a state of emergency last night. And bring me back for a second. I'm going to read this email in just a second. But the police department actually declared the state of emergency. And if you look, there are pictures circulating of the city of Louisville basically boarding up courthouses and buildings and prepping for the worst. So we are only to assume that we know that the announcement on whether or not charges will be filed against the police officers that shot and killed Breonna Taylor. We are going to learn about all of those charges and what the final decisions are. And what we keep hearing, the press alerts we keep getting just say at any time, we can hear at any time. Truthfully, we're probably going to hear that tomorrow. The city of Louisville has been preparing for it. I want to look at this email that was sent by, I think his name is John Mattingly. And I know another Mattingly, so I may be getting his name wrong, but we can bring that back. And he sent this email to over 1,000 police officers at 2 a.m. 2 a.m. he sent this email. I'm not here to give you a rah-rah, you got this speech. I'm not here to tell you that you signed up to help this community and to keep your head up. I'm here to tell you, I'm sorry you have to go through this. I'm sorry your families have to go through this. I'm sorry. Now, mind you, this is I think John Mattingly shot over 8 shots into Breonna Taylor. I'm sorry your families have to go through this. I'm sorry the mayor, Amy Hess, and Chief Conrad failed all of us in epic proportions for their own gain and to cover their asses. You do not deserve to be in this position. You can pull it down because I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Basically, he wrote an email basically calling, saying that this is a fight about evil versus good, and that they are on the right side. He also doubled down and basically said that he believes that he has, and I don't want to mess up the quote, so give me just a second because I don't think we have it. And we've all dealt with the death of Breonna Taylor in different ways. He was quoted as saying that I know we did the legal, moral, and ethical thing that night. Jonathan Mattingly, that was contained in the email that he sent to the officers. My only question is, as we look to progress and we look to be heard, and we just talked about it with Wells Fargo, we saw all of this responses from organizations and corporations and everything. When you are, and I understand how I really don't understand multiple sides of this because what happened to Breonna was so horrendous. But I just am concerned when we hear the words, I know we did the legal, moral, and ethical thing that night. Legal, I'll give you that. Moral and ethical, I am concerned. I'm just concerned that our police officers, somebody can be murdered in the way that Breonna was murdered. And in the same breath, you can say that you did the legal, moral, and ethical thing that night. I should mention that a civil lawsuit has been settled with the city of Louisville. Breonna Taylor's family will receive $12 million, and the city has agreed to implement police reforms. How can you reform a police officer that believes he did the legal, moral, and ethical thing that night? What type of reform happens there when he believed that he did everything right? I guess that's probably my only question since I know we'll have to be talking about Breonna Taylor later. Phero, your thoughts?
Well, in terms of the legal, moral, and ethical statement, I really think that we spend as people a lot of times trying to cover your ass, and you say things that you don't that were not really thought through. I don't think he thought through that's little excerpt. I really don't think he thought through that, because to put the likeness of morals and ethics in conjunction with the death, the innocent death of a young woman, you couldn't have thought that was you. You couldn't have thought that was the appropriate thing to say. I think that he was covering, as heartfelt as he was trying to make that, it's really a slap in the face. for the family, for the people for the children that will go forward from this and this experience, wondering if they could be the next Breonna Taylor, because an officer like him could also view that as an ethical act, and getting up and doing your job. You know, I just, it's troubling. It really is troubling. I have some opinions that I'm sure we'll discuss tomorrow on the cabinet, about Louisville and Breonna Taylor, but ultimately,
and I think the fact that we even have to do that, I think it's just frustrating for me. I think what has been interesting, and pulling it back, because it's hard to talk about this. Pulling it back, I think what has been interesting is 360, back to politics. That Donald Trump has used this and all the unrest that has unfolded since George Floyd. I'm gonna say Philando Castile, but appropriate. Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, as everything that you see is what you will see under a Joe Biden presidency. Which he said this repeatedly over and over. He says, this is what a Joe Biden presidency will be. I'm your law and order president. And people buy into it, but it's actually happening under President Donald Trump. Like, all of this unrest is actually happening under him. So where's the disconnect? My struggle with this is that I know that emotions will be high. People will be very frustrated, and there's no other reason. I can't be convinced that the city has issued the state of emergency and boarded everything up because they're going to arrest these cops, and and they're afraid of Blue Lives Matter coming out and destroying everything. But will this sway people that may be on the fence on how they want to vote this election? Are they going to feel some type of way because there is still unrest, and they feel like the only person that can clean that up is Donald Trump?
You know, I don't think that I have faith. I think I tread on the side of optimism when we don't understand the realities. I have faith that a lot of people, a lot of younger people, a lot of people that have been affected by the national deplorable acts that Donald Trump has been responsible for, will see that at the ballot box, or will have understood that prior to getting there, and vote correctly. Not just for themselves, but for what the possibilities may be for another generation. And 4 more years of what we've been through for the last 4 years, I don't see how anyone can view that as anything less than detrimental to the growth of our country. So,
okay. I mean, we'll leave that there. I think that it's just something that we got to follow. There are, for those of you that have just had heavy hearts with this, my thoughts and prayers are with you. I send you good energy and good vibes, and encouragement to keep your head up. That we are all hoping to see lighter days and brighter days from this. The last thing that I'm gonna drop, which I don't know why this kind of put a smile on my face. It shouldn't. I don't think, but anytime I think of this individual, you may not have any thoughts on this at all. But Kodak Black is suing the Federal Bureau of Prisons. That's not funny. It's not funny. The reason that he's suing them is not funny. When I imagine Kodak Black, though, I can't take much seriously. But he's suing the Federal Bureau of Prisons for alleged torture. He says that he was tortured, and it's actually very, very serious. He is, and his legal team are saying that he's being tortured in a Kentucky prison. I did not know that he legally changed his name from Dyson Octave to Bill Capri, but he's in jail right now for 46 months on federal gun charges. But he alleges that he's just been abused, been put in restraint, no access to a bathroom. He's had to urinate and defecate on himself. and officers have pointed and laughed at him while this is going on. He also says guards have flicked his testicles while he has not been dressed, and placed him on his knees while he's soaking wet and humiliated him in front of people. I think that this is something that I want to put. I'm upset with myself. I'm not really upset, but I did not want to laugh at that. Kodak Black is a funny character. He is. But nobody in any prison, any system that's run by the government should be subjected to any type of mistreatment of this nature. And I think when we get to the point of that, we're okay with people, even if they are being incarcerated people being mistreated, we've really lost our way. And I think, I know that there are people that advocate for people that are felons and inmates, and there are tons of organizations that support inmates and fight for them to have equal rights. But I don't think that enough people know how limited the resources actually are in those systems, whether it's a federal or state managed prison, and especially the private prisons. There's so many things that can go on in this type of situation. And I think when it comes to not just a celebrity, but I think the fact that we're hearing about it for somebody that has the level of celebrity that Kodak Black does, how unfortunate these situations can be for people that don't have that clout or that status. In these systems, and a lot of both sides are talking prison reform and modifying the way that people are treated in our prisons. Do you think that there is enough of a spotlight on what happens, how these people are taken care of, and what our tax dollars support? Do you think that people are actually aware of all of those things that, not all of the things like this that occur, but just the things that are funded by the people?
Absolutely not. I don't think that. I mean, I would have never thought that Kodak Black would have been a victim of something like this. Is it unbelievable? Absolutely. I mean, yes, it's unbelievable, but I also think that this is something that potentially happens to a lot of men, especially a lot of men of color. And I'll say this as well. I'm sure a lot of men in the public eye. It's unfortunate that, it has to be brought to it. That anyone has to go through that, more or less. Someone that we viewed in the public eye as, in some type of way, successful, regardless of their genre.
Yeah, so I think it's demoralizing, and I see the humanity in people. I draw the line in child molesters and rapists. I really usually don't see any humanity there, but I think when somebody is you're entrusted.
Was indicted in criminal sexual assault.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
He was indicted on criminal sexual assault.
Oh, was he? I didn't know that.
Be the first to admit. I don't know where it ends. Yeah, I don't know where that case stands, but it was recent that he was indicted on those charges. And I'm not saying that it should be tit for tat in that way, that what's happening to him is in any way okay, because that means, for every Kodak Black, that means that that's happening to people that we know. You know what I mean? Drugs, just minor offenses, right? Marijuana specifically, minor offenses, things like that. So that means that if it's happening to Kodak Black, it's probably happening to those people, and will definitely not be subjected to that type of treatment. I have a hard time, though, empathizing with people who have humiliated others, especially, criminally, sexually assaulting anybody. I have a really hard time empathizing when they feel humiliated by someone else.
Sure.
Because I feel like you've inflicted the same exact feeling on somebody else. And whether that's right or wrong, I don't care at this point. I don't think that should be happening. I want to make that clear. Because like I said, if it's happening to him, that means it's happening to people who are just in jail just because they're, of color, wrong place, wrong time. But I do think that when people who are accused of being abusers when the same type of treatment happens to them, the way that they want to rally around them and, support them, they don't give that same grace to their victims. And I think that's really effed up.
No, I think, and I really appreciate your truth there. I did not know about his recent indictment. And I think what's happening to him is just foul. And I do not, I think where I find issue with it is that we are funding a lot of the things that are happening in these prisons and in these organizations, and I think not just starting with prison and obviously not ending with prison. We just are not aware of so many things and atrocities that are committed against humans based on things that we are funding. There's that Jazz, you and I spend a lot of time sharing information on documentaries and soaking in information and learning new things. But I think also vocalizing frustration with those things and supporting organizations. We can't get out and we can't solve every problem. And I think that's one of the major issues that we have in a time like this, when everything feels heavy, everything feels like a weight. Like Jazz, like you said, watching the news, it's just too much. There's too much coming in, too much going out. And then there are certain people that feel the motivation to just turn it off. Other people feel like I have to get out there and solve every problem. We can't, but we can be vocal on what we view as wrong. And I think that we can be vocal on what should be the wrongs that should be made right, especially if we are funding them. If we're putting money into these things, there's absolutely no reason. There's no reason that you can't speak and say whatever you want to your congressman or to your senator, because you literally pay them. Literally. So no, you can't take an extended vacation when people still have not gotten paid, or people are still out of work, or there's so much. I can go into a whole nother show that I get triggered. But I think that it's important for us to keep those things near and dear. And this situation for Bill Capri is very unfortunate. I can't even say that name seriously because I really can't take Kodak Black seriously. But this is the serious situation. And I think Josh,
it's definitely serious. It's definitely serious. And I want to sit some more with the comment that I just made, because I like to be the first to admit that I heard about the sexual assault charge from him. I don't know many of the details, so I really can't in good conscience say that I don't empathize with him, because if these charges are not true and I just don't know, maybe I'm just not up to date on my details, I never want to act like that what's happening to him is okay, especially just off of something that I read on social media. So I want to clarify that. Yeah, I want to clarify that what's happening to him is not cool, and I need to do my own research and confirmation on the previous comments that I just made.
I love that. It's big, and that's how we do it. We're honest. When we mess it up, then we own it, and we apologize, and we move on, and we keep talking. And and these are not the easiest conversations. That's the one thing that I love about the cabinet. I don't invite anybody here to the cabinet that is going to come and give me some bullshit, because I don't want to hear it. I don't want you to sugarcoat it. I don't want you to give me something that you think I want to hear, because I've heard it all, and I think we've all hear it all. We read it and we see it, and nobody wants to take that in. And so this will always be a place where we just talk about the real and put it out there. And we really got into it today. There's a lot of things we were all over the place, but I think that it's really what makes this special. That's really any final words. Thank you for being the first to come back to the cabinet. Thank you for the cabinet is here because you guys not just believed in it, but participate in it. So I'm
never ready to leave. I'm never ready for it to be over. I do realize it's a school night and we all got stuff to do. I'm never ready.
The conversations are just going to get more interesting, right? Because tonight we only, and for those of you just tuning in, what you've missed, and you can go back and watch it. This will be on the podcast. But one thing that we will be able to kind of come back to is we got to talk about these people that are likely going to be nominated to the Supreme Court. Who are they? What could they really affect, aside from those three things that we talked about? What could really happen? And what does the world look like on October 22nd?
It's really, honestly, it's Judge Judy's time. And I vote for her for the Supreme Court.
I will say this. If Judith Shanlin was in consideration for the Supreme Court, a lot of people would not be taking her seriously, but I am voting for Judge Judy hands down. She's never going to BS us. She's not going to give us any. You would never get a BS opinion from Judith.
It's your time, Judith.
It is Judith's time to shine. Phero and Jazmine, thank you so much for coming to the cabinet. How do people keep up with you, Phero?
You can reach me via Instagram at p.poppington. That's p.poppington, or on Twitter as Phero_. That's PHERO_.
Got it. Phero. Miss Henley-Brown.
I am at Twitter at jhenleyBrown_. That's it. But also, I do want to leave some parting words for anybody watching. Like, it's a super heavy time. I want people to just take care of yourself in whatever way that looks like. For me, it's not consuming so much news because it really weighs me down. But whatever it looks like to you, don't be afraid to log out if that is going to help you. Like, if you're constantly feeling heavy and anxious.
You said that.
Because you're online. It's a heavy place to be right now. Just back away, turn your phone off, delete the apps from your phone. You don't have to delete your account. That might stop you from going on so much, but it's so important for us to not put everything that we have into social media and not allow social media to give us everything either.
Agree. And listen, I think some of that can be done with you doing things that are abnormal to you. Right? So if you get all your news on social media, think about getting it from somewhere else. Do something random. Newspapers are going out of business, but they are still here. Go get you a newspaper one day. It may really calm you down. It literally may completely, like, you may get a newspaper, and I'm telling you, people are like, I think this pandemic has allowed people to kind of explore things that they would never. Like, I'm hearing people like, I went camping for the first time. Like, I'm doing all of these things for the first time because I need a release and I need a break. And you do. I unplug and don't say anything. I don't make an announcement. I just vanish. I don't respond to nobody. You do what you can. And I think we all have to do what works for us. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Phero, Jazmine, thank you so much for coming through on Muted Nation. Of course, this show continues. We will, the cabinet continues. So if you like the cabinet, find Muted Nation anywhere a podcast is available. Subscribe, and share. Follow us on Muted Nation on everywhere. And that is going to do it for our show tonight. My name is Alex Haynes, and I'm Alex Unmuted on everywhere, Twitter, Instagram, and .com. Remember, today is greater. Believe it. I don't know what's going on. Speak it, live it. You have to make the choice to be great. Your situation is never your destination. So make it your motivation. We are out of here. We will see you next time.